It's weird. It's really weird. Okay. Let me see. Hold on. Go live. Let me put my other programs out here. Facebook. I was surprised to see how many Muslims do use that darn TikTok, though. It's a lot of them on there.
Oh yeah, TikTok is a disease.
It is. I mean, I was shocked when I went live playing with it to try to connect my stream to it, which I can't do because I don't have a. When they give me an RTM, I can connect my stream program. But right now, I'm using my phone, just testing it out. Boy.
Like I don't have TikTok. Sorry.
What?
Like I don't have TikTok. I deleted it like a long time ago.
Who is it talking? Anyone? You sound
Yeah,
different.
I don't have TikTok.
Okay. What about is Norto or one of y'all can on TikTok? Can y'all hear me? All I see is a bunch of Christian people. Can one of y'all join TikTok? Tell me if you hear me or see me on there with my cell phone. Is it showing up as Suna followers or Layla Nashiba? I'm logged in on Suna followers online. You should see me as Layla Nashiba or Suna followers. I don't think y'all see me as Layla Nashiba because all these Christians is on there. When I logged in before, I think I logged in as Layla Nashiba and it was all Muslims that I knew, but now I'm seeing just a bunch of Christians. Yeah, TikTok is disgusting, but
well, it's like anything else. I mean, it can have amazing.
It's the worst one, though.
What it's being used for.
Yeah, it's the worst one. Like I said,
it's used for shallow degeneracy, mindless, soulless, like entertainment.
Yeah, we get our donations from the people from off of YouTube. That's what I say. But yeah, I don't think they're seeing me as Layla Nashiba. I'm logged in as Suna followers online. Yeah, because none of these people I know by name. Before I saw a lot of my students. I'm like, my students waste their time with TikTok. Okay, let me bring in TikTok sister program, which is where I'm getting a lot of my people from, which is better than TikTok. I'm getting a lot of my
Layla from, which is I see you on Layla. I see you on TikTok.
Okay.
I see you on TikTok live.
Okay, what do you see me? Which name do you see me using?
Layla, I put in Layla Nashiba.
Okay.
I didn't know I had to say.
Okay, good.
Because I deleted it too, I thought one time. I'm still back on it. Okay. All right. I'm cutting off my mic.
Okay. Okay, let me bring in the sister program. It's all about trying to get donations right about now, y'all. Pay for these programs. So that's why I'm using every platform. I'm on every platform now, brother Yusuf. Gotta get it. We everywhere now. Okay, here we go. Logging into this one.
Once you start seeing the Christ as King and all that stuff, that's a sign you made it. So look at that as a blessing from the law.
That's what I got in there.
That means you're getting bigger.
I got the Christ as King in here himself.
Yeah.
His whole room is in here. Okay. Okay. All right. Who's the moderator? All right. Okay. All right, brother Yusuf. Okay, guys. Inna alhamdulillah. Wa salat. Wa salam ala wa rasulallah. Like to welcome everybody to this week's news and review. And let's see what brother Yusuf is going to speak about tonight. I know what we all were talking about the day before yesterday about that Trump stuff with that WW3, whatever that crap. Well, let's see if that's what he's going to talk about tonight. So I'm going to turn this over to Brother Yusuf so we can get this week's news in review. And Brother Yusuf, you can start whenever you are ready. I'm going to be testing all these. We're on about 15 platforms today, so I'm going to be geeked out here. So you can go ahead and get started.
My mic muted. I didn't realize it for a second. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. You can ask questions about that at the end. I really, honestly, I don't know like much this week because I was tied away with travel. I was working away from home across the country in the lovely state of California from Monday all the way up until Thursday. Got back last night about 1 o'clock in the morning. Anyone who's flown in this country should understand real quick how far behind we are as a nation when it comes to efficiency at the airport. We've got top-of-the-line pilots, no doubt about that. Pilots are all very good here. But when you go to the airports and experience service, the design, they're outdated. I mean, it's a customer service nightmare. And yesterday, I mean, I was just mentally, physically exhausted. I dreamed of what I was going to do tonight, the skilling and just every aspect of the running of an airport in this country is a disgrace. For a first world nation with the resources that we to run airline travel so poorly. When you go and you look at what Dubai does with the airport, you look at what Germany and other places in Europe do in the airports. I mean, it's really sad. And not to go too much into that, I wanted to go in. I had this one planned out originally from before, and I said I dreamed it up as I was observing during my travels. This was what I was going to be talking about, especially as I said with all that kind of dormant time. And I've covered similar versions of this before, but I just feel this is an issue that needs to be talked about a lot because it's critical to the survival of a nation. Every nation starts with family. And we are seeing increasingly more and more as the decades go by. We're going to go through a lot of causation tonight. We are going to see what's being done as a mental operation, psychological operation, if you will, to us. And I'm obviously open to comments about the Trump-Iran thing. I'm not really on top of it. As I said, when you're attending a conference, you're going to numerous classes and meeting with exhibitors and all this different stuff. Didn't really have much time to get on to that to really find out what was going on. But we're going to look at this issue, which to me is a very important, pressing issue. We're going to see how this issue is not just exclusive to the kuffar, to the unbelievers. The numbers you're going to see tonight are almost parallel, in some cases even worse, in our community. So let's start off with a statistic, shall we? 63% of men currently right now, as of 2025, so 26 is probably even going to be higher. 63% of men in their 20s in this country right now are classified as single. And what is meant by single in this particular poll is they don't have an intimate, romantic, I mean, we're going by kuffar standards, anything can count these days as a relationship. But this 63% are professed to be single. They have nobody. So again, this is just the non-believers, right? This is certainly not the religion of Allah. It's no way. I mean, we have the Sunnah, we have the Quran. There's no way this is happening to us, is it? Well, actually, it is. In fact, it's the exact same percentage. I'm basing this on America here. I didn't go back and have time to go into the Muslim diaspora all over Europe. We're going to get to Muslim countries, though, however, and so you see it's even worse. 62 to 63%, depending on where you go, it's mainly data taken from the Pew Research Facility, found that Muslim men in the United States mirror the non-Muslim men. 63% are single. According to Pew, again, 45% of all Muslim men from 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s are unmarried. 45%, almost half of the data here. So we're seeing this is a problem that is crossing the aisle. So as I mentioned before, what about Muslim countries? Certainly in Muslim countries, it's got to be better, right? Let's take Egypt, Jordan, Morocco, famous Muslim nations, lots of data to be had from these nations. The single rate for the 20 to 29 group is between 60 to 80%.
In places like Morocco, it is higher. Places like Egypt is a little bit lower. Jordan tend to be in the middle. But looking at a 60 to 80% window of men between the ages of 20 and 29 are unmarried. These are single men in the prime of their lives when they should be beginning families, taking care of said families. And we're going to look at the relationship of men and women, of course, as well. It takes two to tango, it takes two to prosper within the human family. But this is detrimental to long-term religious, spiritual, and societal progress. Now, let's look at women. In the 20s age group in the West, 34% of women are single. So you saw we're going to unpack this as we always do. 63% of men, but yet in this same group, there was only 34% of women single. So what's going on here? The demographics don't match. 30 to 40% of Muslim women in the same United States in their 20s are single, unmarried. We don't go by dating in our community. We go by either you're married or you're not. So it's a little bit more narrow of a term, where in the West, like I said, it could be a guy that she's sleeping with on a Friday night and then sleeping with another on Monday. They count that as not being single. Some of them, from their perspective, will say, oh, I'm still single. He's a friend with benefits. But when you look at the Muslim, we know it's talking about marriage. And it's still the same numbers. 35% of women in their 30s are single. So what's going on here? Only 1% difference. You're not seeing much there. 30% of men, however, in their 30s are single, but 47% of those men live alone. So what does that tell you from a Western context? That these men have females that they are actively engaging in sexual relations with, but they are not committed to. So 30% of them are single, they have nobody, but 47% total live alone. So even the ones that are active in the so-called dating market are still, by our Muslim definition, to be single. Now you'll notice again the trend continuing. 27% of men in their 40s are single in Western society, 22% never being married. You're seeing as men get older, the numbers are going down. Lots of different reasons for that. Cultural, obviously men are more successful in the modern day societal filter that states money is everything, career is everything. So obviously a man in his 40s, typically by that age, you're either a loser or you're a winner or average. I mean, your destiny is pretty much already sown by this point. If you're a man with no job in your 40s, unless you're in between, you had bad luck, more times than not, you're a loser. You're an unmotivated, worthless individual who we don't want you having kids. We don't want you taking on the burden of a wife and a child and being any kind of leader in the home. You can't even lead yourself. So by that point, men are polished. They have what they're going to be. Now, again, there are men who do have bad luck, and they're between these jobs or opportunities. Now, 30% of women in their 40s are single. So you're seeing as you get older, the men actually are more in the relationships than the women, while in younger, it was double almost. I mean, pretty much double. So what can we take from all of this? The percentages, again, they don't match. You're seeing huge gaps here. Why are the numbers so far apart? Well, what you're seeing is the same men are typically passing around all the women, while the vast majority of men are getting nothing. You are seeing men in their 40s who are successful or going back and they're marrying 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds. You're seeing that quite commonly. So that female demographic, about 7 in 10, professes at least to be with somebody in their 30s, while 63% of men, both Muslim and non-Muslim, are without anyone. Only 37% of those guys are actually with a partner. So you're seeing that the men are basically having their pick of the litter of the women, the good-looking guys, the successful guys, that top 10 to 15, 20% that we keep hearing in social media. And it's leaving the rest of the men in the society with absolutely nothing. This, again, is a ticking time bomb for the betterment of society, particularly for our Ummah. When you're seeing these type of numbers, we're going to look at the depression and all the other factors as we move along. So when can we really since then. This hasn't always been a problem. This is something new, right? Well, let's look at how it all began. We'll look at the last few years. In 2015, it was 51% of the American men were single compared to 63% now. So we're seeing a 12% increase in a period of 10 years. Go to 2020, 51% again. So 5 years, there was literally no change. But by 2022, it was 63%. So from 2020 to 2022, we saw an increase in over 10% of men being lonely, isolated, and single. In a lot of cases, you ask those guys and you break down the numbers, they've given up. They're not even actively trying. They've just said, I have no shot. This is Wild West out here. There's no chance at all for me to have an intimate partner, wife, family, or whatever. So what happened in these 2 years that caused the numbers to jump up by 10%? I think we know pretty much what happened during that period of time. You had the COVID pandemic. You had the scamdemic, if you will. You had the isolation that was going on, and social media took over the thought process of people like never before. Social media went from something that was casual, of people scrolling and, oh, look what this idiot posted, look at this, or this argument here and there, to life. People form their reality off social media. We're going to come to that again later. So let's turn back the clock even more, shall we? Let's go to 1970. In 1970, in the United States, the group I'm speaking about the most, 2029, 23% of these men were unmarried in 1970. Amazing, numbers. When you look at that period of time, you're talking about basically only 1 in 5, almost 1 in 4, close to that, being unmarried. 3/4 of the men were already building a life. They were already becoming a father. They were already developing a home. You look at the adolescent crime and things, all the numbers show that it was a healthier society. If you look at the Muslim numbers on that, it's even lower. I mean, it's close to the 90s of Muslim men that were married in their 20s during that period of time. This is after post-free love, the 1960s, the flower generation in the United States, where all this liberal poison was being infused into the minds of the young from the Jews in the universities, the liberals in the universities, and all these things. But let's look at 10 years of hyper-feminist liberal propaganda. In 1980, 51%, there's that number again, 51% of the men were single, unmarried in their 20s. In 10 years, they went from 23% to 51%, more than doubling the single men rate with this propaganda. It took another 30 plus years or 40 years to get it up another 12%. They really upped their game in the last few years to get these numbers up, to get the birth rates down, because I've talked about this before. It's a war on the births, a war on the human population. There's too many of us, as they viewed they had to engineer it. They don't want to just go out and do it the old-fashioned way with murder, killing, war. Sometimes that has backlash, that has repercussions, things they don't really like too much. It threatens their power. They want you quietly to kill yourself. You're just slowly fading into nothingness. They want you drinking. They want you doing drugs. They want you staring at screens. They want you playing video games. They want you doing all that stuff. Just slowly kill yourself. It's easier for them. There's no accountability. There's no pushback. There's no blame. You're doing it on your own. So when feminism and sexual openness came out, 30% again of the increase, you had during that period of time. So what went on? We're going to get into all the natures of feminism. We saw, again, the second period, social media escalation, the pandemic, the psyche of men, making the crisis worse. People got sucked into these fake algorithms. These algorithms are there to make you depressed. They're there to find out who you are, what you're interested in, and magnify it. Like I've done so many experiments myself over the years with this. I started clicking on posts about men that couldn't get women, about how bad women are, or women post about how bad men are. And all of a sudden, they started flushing me in with my feed with all this stuff. You know, they call it the MGTOW movement. It means men going their own way. You find all these men out there who paint this grim picture that there's absolutely no way to succeed with women if you're not a top 2% to 10% of a guy, and you should pretty much just give up or watch their content. We'll come to that, you know, later. So what went on was the average woman in the past, her self-esteem and her self-worth was largely determined by the community in which she was raised. What compliments she tended to get from family or friends. In Muslim societies, this was almost non-existent, as women were not actively participating in university. They were not working jobs where they're in offices surrounded by men. I remember when I worked in Saudi Arabia, they were starting the openness, you know, movement. We had a Saudi girl there, quite attractive young woman. She used to work the reception. They put her there in that position because she was the first person someone would see when they came into her office. And guess what happened? Her desk was always surrounded by 5 to 10 men at any given moment in time. The men were, I even wanted to make a joke. Won't you guys take a number? I mean, like you're waiting at a bank. I mean, wait your turn. Take a number. Let's do this, you know, professionally and organized, because that's what it was. It's like all the men were just flocking to her to give her endless amounts of compliments and attention and just putting themselves out there. And I noticed with this young Saudi female that over time she started wearing more makeup. The hijab started going further and further back, you know, to the point, I mean, she practically wasn't even wearing the hijab at all. And the men just kept coming. You know, this again is something that is new, especially in the Muslim community. It's not normal for a woman to be showered with this much male attention on a given day. It's like there's hundreds of men coming in here to this office, all complimenting her, all telling her how beautiful she is. Now you take that and you magnify it by putting that woman on social media. Now she's getting compliments from men in China, in Japan, in India, Pakistan, Africa, America, Europe, you name it. They're men, oh, you're so beautiful. Oh, I tell you how beautiful you are. And this is happening thousands and thousands, in some cases, when they get millions of followers, millions of times for every picture that she posts. She is being showered with compliments from men she doesn't even know what they look like, who they are telling her. And you'll notice that even women who, by most standards, are not even attractive, they're still getting it from desperate men, you know, out there who are so over-sexualized by the culture. They think, well, maybe I have a chance with her. So they shower her with compliments, the one that is not even average. So now her ego steadily grows and grows and grows. So the feminist society promised the men in that very critical moment in time from 1970 to 1980 that sex would be something that was free. There was no strings attached. No longer as a man did you have to go out and commit to her, get a house, or whether it's renting or most people bought back then. Now you can't even afford to buy. Having the family car, stable job, having the maturity to deal with children and the challenges of the world, knowing that these people are dependent on you. It's tremendous responsibility as a man to be a real man in the home. And now all that's gone. You can just go out there and say, hey, you know, how are you doing? And throw your game, talk to her in the club, whatever it may be, take her back to the place, have fun, and you're done. Who's not going to like that? When you're pursued by your desires, that's about as good as it gets. You know, and men are weak when it comes to women. They absolutely are. You can go look at the hadith for the Prophet ﷺ. He echoes that sentiment exactly, talking about man's greatest fitness, his challenges, is his ability to not control himself around women. And it's part of the reason that Islamic society has always been structured in the way that it is, to protect women from men and protect men from women for the mutual benefit of all of us, to please Allah. So you have all this going on. So you have the openness, no strings attached. Initially, this worked as good. Men were able to be single, you know, like that massive amount that came in 1980 at 51%. But they still were active. You know, they still were able to have a girlfriend 3-4 times a year and things like that. But no longer would it be easy, because what was happening is that this culture became a death sentence for the average man. And why is that? Because a woman can go for a night out, sit with her friends, and just simply sit back and wait at this point for the best to approach her. Only the best men she's going to accept. She's going to get 10. Like that girl I talked about, that Saudi sister. She was having 50 men a day. She could pick. I liked him the best. He's the most successful. He's the best looking. He's the one that, talked the best. He had the best game. I like him the most. She had 50 options. I mean, I'm not saying some days it probably was that many. Average day, probably 10 to 20. But you do that by a week. You do that by 5 days. You're talking hundreds of men. She gets to sit back and, pick who she wants. The average guy, because it's made for us to be the confident ones, the aggressors, the ones that pursue, we go, we capture the woman, not literally, of course, but it's up to us and our own masculinity to pull the woman in. The woman's not coming to us unless you're one of those few men that happens to be extremely good looking, top 1% of 1%, and you're going to get female attention or you're famous. Most men have to go out and put themselves on the line, but for the woman, no, she doesn't have to do that. So she's going to sit there and be able to pick and choose. So what happens to the psyche of the woman, again, besides her ego growing, is that a woman misunderstands, because she's very emotionally driven, doesn't understand sometimes the core nature of men, that she thinks because that highly successful, insanely good-looking guy is approaching her, that he's the level of man for her. They don't understand. And I'll give you a perfect example of this. When I was working in Walmart back in the early 2000s, this is before cell phones, before social media, men's nature has not changed. I had a couple of women come to me and they asked me for help. There was a man in there who was bothering them. And I went and I talked to high-level management. We've got the police. He wouldn't leave these ladies alone as they were trying to work. And as I was starting to talk to the different women, they all were being approached by this guy. So I'm piecing together the details. And what I'm finding out was, I was like, wait a minute, he talked to you at this time, you at this time, you at this time. He was literally going down the aisle. He was going down the aisles from the top of the store all the way to the front of the store. He was asking out the women in succession down the aisles. He was getting rejected by her. Then he went to her, to her, to her, and her. And by the way they described it, this was not the type of man any woman should ever be entertaining even a sentence from, much less anything beyond that. Obviously not someone of high means, both physically or financially or responsibility-wise. But he kept on doing it. And he was just like, okay, she rejected me. This one right here is less good looking. I'll try her. She rejected me. I'll go down, down, down. To the point he was literally asking anyone in there out. Now you imagine that that's a guy that's above average. That's a guy that's decently good looking. And the first girl, maybe she has a boyfriend. Maybe she's not feeling something about him. She rejects him. He's then going to go down, okay, well, that's not my level tonight. Let me try this. Let me try this. Let me try this. The girl then on the bottom, who maybe is 3 levels below him, was all he could get that night. She's going to think in her mind, I'm entitled to that guy. So any guy that's actually on her level now, she's not going to want to be with. You take that, you put it into the social media lens, where they're seeing all these images that women now have this distorted view that all men in their 20s are millionaires. They all have great bodies. They're all athletic and they're all super high dealing rollers and all this stuff. She's never going to accept anyone who's on her level. She's always going to crave that higher level man. She will never lower her standards. If she's a 6 or a 5 and she's getting an 8 or a 9 who got shot down by other 8s or 9s in the bar that night or the club, she's going to be like, okay, I'm an 8 or 9 now. No, you are not. But with social media, with all of this, she believes that she is. And it's setting her up for a life of loneliness. And it's setting the men up who should be looks matched, financial matched, family matched with her, up as well for failure. All of these men are going to have 0 shot with her now, and she's going to have 0 shot with the men that she thinks she can get. So again, there's going to be no success for either party in these situations. You know, that's why, again, you see large numbers, like I mentioned above. These women consider themselves taken, and they're having sexual relations with all these different men who simply are not even calling them unless they have no other options. I've worked with men, obviously, all of my life. I hear their stories, and they have 5 or 6 girls. These are the successful men, the ones that are good looking, that are single, that never intend to get married. They're degenerates, you know, to be honest. And this one guy was telling me, he's like, yeah, this is my girl right here. She ain't very good looking, but she's always available. You know, and that girl's waiting on him to one day commit to her. It's just simply not going to happen. That guy knows, you know, this is something that can get like that. So if all my other efforts fail, I'm just going to call her up, go by her place. Maybe I'll spend the night. The next day I'm gone. That woman will say she's with him, but in reality, she is not. The guy that she should be with, she probably rejected. The guy that would have committed to her, would have been a responsible husband, she's not going to give him the time of day because she believes that guy right there is her level. And she's looks matched, you know, with him. Men mature quicker when they are married. When a man gets married, his male instincts, you know, kick in. They maturate, as I mentioned earlier, because now you've got a woman, you've got, especially when you have kids, these are other life forms that are dependent upon your success. A man typically, when he's married, becomes more religious. He becomes better, you know, as a person. You can look at all the famous Sahaba, you know, most great Islamic scholars, great men of renown. They are men who were married. They are men who had children. You know, they were men who took that burden on, in some cases, at very young ages. You know, but today's man, what is he? He is a man child. You go look out, and I'm sitting in the airport, and I'm looking around, and I'm seeing all these men. They're wearing cartoon T-shirts, Captain America, Superman, Batman. You know, I mean, what are you, 5 years old? I mean, I liked Batman too when I was 8. You know, when I was 9, it was cool to be a rich guy that has all these toys and gadgets, can deal with the bad guys, you know. Then you grow up and you know, you deal with the real world and you change, you mature. But you're seeing men in their 30s and 40s walking around with comic books, anime, you know, and all these things, you know, video games, another big one nowadays. There's nothing wrong with having a kind of, you know, hobby here and there that you dedicate minimal free time to, you know, but it becomes an obsession. It's the driving force of their lives. It's taking away from the pain of having nothing to live for. Their whole nature as a man has been gone. Their God consciousness is non-existent. And their male protective instincts are never used for anything. So instead of using his creativity to solve family problems, religious problems, he's solving problems on the video game. He's watching superheroes, pretending that he's them, living vicariously through them. And there's other useless hobbies, you know, that the men basically are doing to cover up for this. He's no longer fit at this point to approach and acquire a woman. He's going to demonstrate no characteristics that she's wanting. And guess who's waiting to pounce on this? You know, as always, our friends, you know, who we talk about on this platform on a week-to-week basis. They've always got something for you. They create the problem, then they know you're going to have a reaction, and they're going to offer you a solution. So you have your grifters, these guys that are propped up by the algorithms of Twitter, Instagram, you know, these parasites. We know who they are. We've covered them, the Andrew Tates, the Sneakos. You know, there's this guy called Clavicular, you know, who's going around now. We're going to get a lot to him because one of the things we're seeing with men is attributed to this guy. This guy literally rose overnight. No one knew who he was. Then Andrew Tate and Sneeko and all the usual clowns, they promoted him and his poison. And then now all of a sudden he's big. And the concept known as looks maxing was born. You know, now for all these guys, the 63%, you're miserable because of what society has done, you know, how backwards everything is. Instead of turning to Allah, turning to God, you know, you turn to these men to fix your problems. Instead of turning inward, and for the ladies as well, of course, we'll get back to them in a minute, you have this. So what are you doing as a looks maxer? Well, it's a looks and money combination. that has convinced the modern man, and that's again why I talked about a lot of these men, no confidence. They've completely given up. Because if you're not chiseled, you're not ripped, you're not jacked, with massive amounts of muscle, and you're not a millionaire by the time you're 30s, you're a loser. And you have no shot, with any woman. They're pitching this stuff endlessly. Like to the average man now, it's that the self-esteem is record lows. We'll get to some of that here in a minute. Even though the fact that statistically most millionaires do not reach millionaire status in their 50s, not 30s, not 20s, unless you're a whiz kid or you're one of those people we talked about last week who's inherited a trust fund, massive amounts of wealth. Most people, when they reach millionaire status, they're going to reach it, if they ever do, in their 50s. It's the culmination of hard work, saving, investment, financial ability, and astuteness, not in your 20s. But again, you watch these guys, you think every guy at the bar, club, I'm not saying we as Muslims should be going there, but any brother you may be competing with to try to find a wife is all a millionaire. You're just a low-level loser. They're also promoting to young people now plastic surgery. For years, we see this in Dubai. We see this in the Gulf. You see these women now walking around because they're trying to look smack. The women have been doing this for years because that woman wants to get those 9 and 10 rated guys I talked about earlier to approach her in the club, the same way the Saudi sister, naturally beautiful sister, all of a sudden she's putting on tons of makeup. She's probably going now and getting surgeries because she's got to look better than the other girls over there. Comes competition. When whatever happened to one partner, being in love, having a family, no. It's about being the best, the alpha, the optimal, one. So you're seeing these sisters, go look at Dubai. I mean, it's horrendous. They look like monsters, some of these women. They just have not stopped with the surgery. Their lips look disgusting. Their faces don't move. Like when they smile, it looks like it hurts them because they've had the muscles in their face killed from various Botox treatments. It's so common now that they call it Dubai face. They don't even look human. I remember one time I was over there and I said to one of the brothers, I said, there's nothing from Allah left in this woman over here. There's nothing from Allah left. Like they've taken the creation of Allah and they've distorted it and warped it and created some type of a horror movie here. And now you're seeing it being marketed to the men because these people are businesses. They're here to capitalize on your misery, and they're here to sell you a solution to fix your misery. Just pay me $15,000 and I'll give you the nose you always wanted. I'll give you that cleft chin. I'll file the bone down in your face because women like an angular face. It's more masculine. Shave your beard, pluck your eyebrows, wear makeup. These guys, clavicular in particular, pitching men to wear makeup. And it gets even worse. Do drugs. Take hard drugs that are life wreckers, like crystal meth, methamphetamine, to lose weight so you can see your abs. Well, I guess if you don't eat, which is one of the side effects of crystal meth, besides not being able to sleep, highly addicting, that you're going to be thin. You're probably going to see your abs if you're not eating. They're recommending this openly, on camera. Stay lean, maximize your looks. If you're a short guy, don't even try. Average height, you're not 5'10", don't even try. But guess what? There's now a surgery that can lengthen the bone in your legs and gain you 2 to 3 inches for about $50,000. And God forbid the consequences, obviously, that are coming from that. Another one of the things they're pushing for the young men now is steroids. Take steroids, get yourself muscular and lean. Well, what's one of the side effects of taking testosterone replacement therapy and steroids? Infertility. It's funny how it always comes back to that, isn't it? But again, pitching this to the young people. And you're now going to start seeing more and more men spending more time in the salon, more time in their beauty. They're going to spend 45 minutes getting made up, do the eyes, do the makeup, just like the women, in the mirror. And it's a race to what? Absolute degeneracy. Another thing about this is the gym culture that they have pushed. Gym memberships, when I was researching for this, we found, and I knew this was the case, I want to get the exact numbers. There's been a 20% increase in men going to the gyms since the pandemic, because that's what the influencers are peddling, is you got to get in the gym, bro. You got to get in the gym. When time and time again, most guys who are really of a chiseled physique, when you talk to them and you ask them who gives you the most compliments on looking like a steroid freak with all this unnormal levels of body fat, unhealthy. Most of these guys drop dead in their 40s or 50s from heart failure because it's so much energy the heart has to take to pump the blood to keep these muscles going. You know, and you ask them who gives you the most compliments. Something quite interesting. Men. You're getting the most compliments off of this from other men, not from the ladies. You look at study after study, most women do not like a man who looks like this. It's unnatural. Women like a strong man, an athletic man. But this is something quite different. Again, this is a male version of the Dubai face I was talking about earlier. They look like something out of a monster movie. It's unnatural, unorganic to look like this. And most of their compliments they're receiving are coming from other men. They're not coming from the ladies. And I've always been someone on this platform who's advocated for exercise and health. I work out. There's nothing wrong with a man working out. We're talking about the obsession and trying to put Band-Aid on a gash. You know, this is not the solution to the societal problems. You know, you're not doing anything by doing this. You find that these men are coming back 5 years later after starting the gym. They're saying, I still don't get any women, because they're asking the wrong questions. They're listening to the wrong people. They're promoting the wrong thing. Could you imagine, as a bit of comparison here, you know, if the Prophet was described, Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was described as a muscle man with his bulging shoulders, and he was consuming 200 grams of protein and eating 7,000 calories a day. If I would say there was a hadith like that, everybody would laugh at me, and justifiably so, because we find a completely opposite message from the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He talked about limiting your reliance on food in the dunya, worshiping food, gluttony as we call it here in the West, about the traps of gluttony, and the stomachs being 1/3 for air, 1/3 for water, and 1/3 for food. Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was fasting constantly. You know, but now you have a message. You see these Muslim men doing it too. I got to get my protein in, man. Got to get that 200 grams like a pig, you know, like eating, goring, all these type of just gluttony and decadence is going to lead you straight to the hellfire. Building up the ego, building up. You can't tell them anything. They know anything. Because look at me. Look how I look. I'm a winner. You know, anyone can do this. You have the money. You have the time. You have a little bit of motivation. It's not hard. You know, but this again is what we are seeing. The opposite again of, you know, the what you call the Sunnah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Now we have again on that point a generation of men now with what could be classified as eating disorders. You know, this was a big thing among women back when I was growing up in the 90s. You had all these different women because of the homosexual controlled fashion industry. You know, women believed they had to be an anorexically thin skeleton to be attractive to men. Well, guess what? They found out men didn't like that. Men were never, I never knew a man, you know, who said, I like what those models looked like back in the 90s. They used to call it heroin chic, you know, because the women looked like heroin addicts, and a lot of them, you know, ironically were, you know, either on cocaine or heroin. They looked horrible. You could see their bones sticking out in their bodies, but women were feeling, if I don't look like that, men will not like me. When you ask men, none of the men like that. It was homosexual men that liked that, and homosexual men that were telling the women to dress and look like this and would only promote said models. It caused huge disaster in the self-esteem of young girls. And now you're seeing the exact same thing with the men, telling the men all these things that women don't actually like and damaging their body, irreparable damages to the heart, to the body, to the metabolism, to their hormones, all chasing something that's not even real. It's artificial illusion perpetuated by these lying clowns, you know, in the social media. So you have to be, again, that top 20%. That's what the message is. And during my time here, I mean, just to show how reality matches, what, you're seeing in social media, I was going around California as I was walking around, looking at people as I always do in the airports. And I witnessed several men, more than I can count, that had wives. They didn't look like this. They weren't Andrew Tate. They weren't 6'4" with millions of dollars. They weren't gym bros, on steroids and crystal meth. The ladies they were with were not having Dubai face with the fake lips and all these things. They're normal people who were with someone who was very equivalent. In a lot of cases, felt the woman was better looking than the man that she was with. But again, you look at this artificial illusion. It's there to destroy your self-esteem. It's there to make you feel low. So then when you're low, again, you're vulnerable. And when you're vulnerable, you go to these type of people for the solutions that will take you straight to the hellfire, take you straight to an early grave. They're parasites feeding off your time and energy, and all this stuff is painted worse than it is. Why do you think? There's two things that these people have made free in the last decade. Two things. Two major things. I've covered both of them here. We'll be covering the second one today. The first one was the COVID vaccines. We already covered why that was. We looked at the 48 side effects. These are things they made free. Here, take it. Another thing these men have made for free is pornography. Think about that. Why is pornography free? Anyone can go online with their phone, their tablet, their laptop. They can watch hours of pornography and not pay $1. Since when do these guys that own everything, we talked about that last week about the 6 media companies that owned everything, they always raise the price. We covered that with the World Cup. Everything always goes up. Drug prices go up, alcohol goes up, all the vices they sell you, they always raise them, prescription drugs, everything. One thing they don't, pornography. They're stealing your energy. They're getting you, especially as young men, to dedicate time and energy to this, these false images of women, false images of intimacy, which setting you up for soul destruction, God consciousness destruction. Ultimately, your success with women will plummet. These men can't even look women in the eye, anymore. Everything they've imagined is through that lens. They are constantly giving their energy to this, again, sinful, disgusting, grotesque, they call it an art form. Some have called it free speech, which I found really funny. But again, always ask yourself that question. Why is it free? And we could do a whole thing on that. Maybe if people want to hear about that, I'll talk about the pornographic industry and all the different repercussions on the psyche and the physical well-being of men, as men being the number one consumer of it, and then women being the number one profiter, off of these lonely, reckless men. So in the Muslim community, we have another problem that's in this same issue. And that is the sisters out there, particularly in Muslim countries, asking for insane dowries. I mean, I was shocked. This is back then. I don't even know what it is now. When I was living over there, we were having women asking for $75,000 to $100,000, in dowries, from men. I was back when I was a heavy smoker. I was on break. I was teaching a class. I was out there smoking and talking to a Saudi brother. He was smoking also. We were chatting and I was asking him, he was 30-year-old, looked successful, had a good job. He was in our class, so I knew what he was doing for a career. Pretty good job. And I asked him, why are you not married? And he said, brother, I can't afford that. And I went, what? And he's like, you understand how much the average Saudi woman is asking in a dowry? He's like, I'm taking care of my family. I'm helping my parents. I'm helping my younger brother, go to school and things like that. I mean, I can't save up $75,000 to $100,000 to get married. And he's like, then he says, well, then she's going to want a wedding party. And the wedding party is going to be another $50,000. Then she's going to want me to have a house. She's going to have all these other things. He's like, I need at least 300,000 US dollars. We're talking Saudi currency. So in US, because he didn't know I knew about Saudi currency as well. So he's trying to make it to where I could understand. And I just was like, wow, this is just insane. And these women are watching on social media the same way the men are getting a distorted picture of what their success level is. Women are getting it too. These women are seeing what some princess or some high-level family, what that girl got in the dowry. Look at her wedding party. If I don't get a wedding party like her, then I'm not accepting. That guy's a loser. I'm a failure as a woman. All these other women, every woman's getting a wedding party like this. This completely couldn't be further from the truth. And I talked to many brothers also when I was living over there who had sisters who were in their 30s and refusing to get married. You know, these were women that were, you know, you could say average in some cases, below average in others of looks. And they're like, I'm not marrying anyone but a rich guy. I mean, no guy who works, you know, as an accountant is for me. No guy that works as a low-level, middle-level manager is for me. It's like, if it ain't a rich guy, I'd rather die single and live off my father, you know, my brother's taking care of me, than marry this guy, because my quality of life will go down. And we're seeing again here. And you see when these women are asked, okay, you want all of this. What do you have to bring to the table? They always simply say, and their ego being as big as the building, they'll say, well, I bring me. Like they feel that that's enough. That's not enough to be a wife. A husband, if you're good looking, can just bring me. No, you bring your ability, your responsibility, your leadership, your dean, your ability to raise your children. That's what you bring. You know, as a woman, it's the same thing. You have your sets of responsibilities. I can raise these children. I teach these children well. I'll be a loyal wife. I'll take care of your home while you're working. I will contribute in these ways the same way you're contributing. It's a team game. But you see them now, my beauty. That's all I got. That's what I'm bringing. It's good enough. And no, it is not good enough. Because at the end of the day, that beauty is going to fade. What is your value beyond that? And that man, as a man gets older, he gets more wealthy. As I mentioned earlier, he gets more successful. He gets more confident. You know, your looks are going to fade. The only thing that's going to keep him is his deen, his belief in Allah, and of course, you being a good wife, because the looks will go. And you see again, you know, these young women, they've had so much success with these quick flings and this attention. They must be flying on cloud nine, right? They must be the happiest they've ever been. They got that girl I talked about, 100 men talking to you in a week. In the West, the girl's going to bed with 3 or 4 guys a month, maybe more. She should be the happiest ever according to Western standards. Well, you find wrong. You know, these women have double the rates of depression. Generation Z is the highest rate of depression among men that has ever been recorded. This is the highest rate of men that are depressed. They have no purpose. They have no value. Women, it's double. You know, we need each other. And when you divide it like this, you're going to see all the consequences that are coming. So these women, you know, they're getting the winners here, as we're told. They're the top of the food chain. They have all the men pursuing them. They're getting the pick of these top 10% of men who will not commit to them. You know, surely they're happy, but we find out no, they're not. They are miserable. They're taking drugs. And as always, those guys, again, they come in the picture. Oh, you got a problem that we created? Well, here's a solution. Take that pill. You'll be happy. Yeah, you'll be dependent for the rest of your life. It's going to cause you all kinds of different psychological issues if you try to get off of it while you're on it as well. But we got a solution for your problem. You know, here, take this. The solution is never, you know, follow the book of Allah. The solution is never follow the sunnah of the Prophet. So no. It's always this. Watch Andrew Tate. Take this pill. Do this. Take steroids. Get this plastic surgery. Wear makeup. All the things that we talked about tonight. People are slowly dying, you know, in this society on the inside. And while you've got Christians and Muslims fighting it out, as I mentioned, this problem is across the aisles. It's their community, it's our community. But yet you've got Muslims on social media debating about some scholar from the 1800s and his view on a scholar from the 1700s. You've got them debating, can you go to a grave and pray? Now, granted, everybody should know you shouldn't be doing that, and the reasons for not doing that. But these are not the pressing issues. I've never met a Muslim who's supplicating saints or supplicating a grave. I've never met one. I'm not saying they're not there. They obviously are. I've never met one. Not the pressing matters of our day. Now, we have our teachers out there who their job is to teach this, to teach those Akida principles, the Tawheed, to bring people to the right way. But we also have these other issues over here as well, that people are dying mentally, spiritually. And if you're dead here, it doesn't matter how much knowledge they know of all these other things. If they're not actively practicing it, engaging with it, and living it, they're going to end up in the same spot. As we saw, the Muslims are the same as the Christians, in some cases higher. You know, debating each other online, wasting all of our time and energy on trivial matters, all the while we rot, you know, from the inside. Man and woman are the backbone of the society, and this relationship is being destroyed in real time. All the data is there. There's not one person who can come on here and challenge me and show me that this is positive, that we're seeing changes in this. All the data points to this. It's getting worse. It's not getting better. And none of the imams and any of them are wasting their time. They're telling you to go vote for some liberal, you know, like Rohran Mamdani. They're wasting your time with the same, you know, recycled lecture over and over again. They're not going through the things that really matter in our day-to-day lives. That's how to fix these things and how to be outside of this world and not be attached to it and not believe it's distractions and not get sucked into the lies that we're seeing in social media and go back to being human again. And I'll close on that. As always, look forward to your comments, questions, anything you want to ask me about this, what we cover tonight, or anything else that happened during the week.
Okay. Assalamu
I had my mind all set on that boxing match or whatever it was that Trump had, that I heard it was all over the media that was going on, and all these wrestlers and boxers, and how insane that was. And but what you're saying is correct, because that's all I'm hearing nowadays is shots here. Men are getting shots, women are getting shots. Women are getting surgeries, men are getting surgeries, women are dying of massive heart attacks on the table just from getting cosmetic surgeries. And that's where all the money is being invested into a lot of cosmetic surgery, and pretty soon they start getting sick. They start getting sick from those same surgeries.
If everybody's what were you saying, sister?
Pardon me?
Go ahead, sister. I thought you were.
I was about finished. I was just gonna say it's all you hear about, you see on TV, and everybody's getting shots. Everybody's, I don't know, it's like some kind of suicide going on.
Yeah, a lot of it.
Not just in America, but in the Gulf and everywhere else.
Oh yeah, the women, the sisters are worse in the Gulf when it comes to this than here in America. It's catching up. But the Gulf, because of the access to resources and wealth, tremendously wealthy. A lot of these families have a lot of money. The option for the surgery was always more affordable over there too. And then you couple that with the wealth. Yeah, I mean, Allah gives each one of us our own personal story, our own personal tests. You know, not everybody is going to be, if you're a man, you know, everyone's going to be 6'2", smart, athletic, wealthy, and successful with a great personality, smart IQ, high IQ. No, I mean, there are some men. I've met men. I'm like, oh wow, this is a very good-looking guy. He's in shape. He's also smart. He's very responsible. This is very less than 1%. He's extremely blessed. But with all those blessings are going to come ego and a lot of tests. Allah is in fact going to test him more, you know, with those gifts. But we all have great things in our personalities. There are a few of us that are the opposite of the man that I mentioned, who are just wretched people from the inside, who are born to do the deeds of the hellfire, if you will. But most of us, we fall in the middle. We have certain things that we need to accentuate, certain attributes and qualities that we want to show off to the people. We want to market ourselves accordingly. And not to feel bad if my gifts are not matched up with this person's gifts. and feel low about ourselves, where I have to go out there and rework my face, the face that Allah gave me. I have to rework my height, the height that Allah gave me. Taking artificial drugs to slow down the aging process, thinking there's going to be no consequences of that. Allah made us to live a certain way, based on the life that He gave us, the attributes. It's like dealing a hand of cards. I mean, Allah deals everybody a hand. I used to always say when I played cards in my younger years, you got to play the hand that's dealt, and you got to be happy with it. You got to make the best of what you've got, and not to feel angry or depressed or sad because maybe you didn't get as good of a deal as someone else. You're not going to catch up. But you can optimize yourself, and I'm all about that, spiritually, physically, mentally. Make yourself the best version of you, to appeal to the opposite sex. But to hate yourself and to want to alter yourself, and as you said, there comes a lot of that with dying in surgery, heart failure, being on pain meds, getting addicted to pain meds, because when you cut open the skin, it tends to hurt. You know, you're not made to have incisions in your face. So if you go and you have such things done, when you wake up, you're going to be in pain, and you're going to take pain meds, and you're going to have to be put out to get such surgery. Your heart, some people don't recover, obviously from that. You're seeing women with the butt injections, and they're going, because they don't have enough money to go to the top doctors, they're going to just a hole in the wall place and letting a guy make incisions into that area of the body and insert silicone in things. And there's been all kinds of infections and issues going on with that, all because we have to be, as we feel, the best person at the top. I have to compete with her, and him, and this, and this, and that. When love and marriage was never supposed to be about such things. You marry your level, someone who suits you.
Yeah, this was one of your better discussions, man. God bless you for that. Brother Ahmad typed here about feminists. I am seeing a rise in this. Now they are women in hijab who say we are taking women's rights. Many of them are leaving and going to non-Muslim countries for work or study, and they are going alone like non-Muslim women do, focusing on their career. He's in Pakistan, and is
I'm very familiar with him. He's very active here.
Yes,
good brother.
Assalamu alaikum. I am so sorry that I'm late, but you made a lot of valid points, definitely a lot of valid points, and it was very interesting listening to you because on some subjects, I was just, battling with myself back and forth, like, is that a good thing or is it a bad thing? It was really making me reflect, which is an awesome thing. But I'm seeing something, and I think that a lot of people should be aware of this because it's going to come up more often as time goes along. I'm seeing people that I went to school with. I'm 36, and I'm seeing people that I went to school with get plastic surgery and stuff like that. And they, to look differently, to look more appealing to themselves or whoever. And they're having children, and their children look like them before they have plastic surgery. And it's setting something off in the children. The children of these people that I'm seeing who've had plastic surgery, they're depressed. They feel like outsiders. And I think it's because their parents and because their children didn't turn out the way that they look, because they don't look the way that they were born. So I think that that's going to be an issue as time goes along as well.
Oh, absolutely. This height extension I was talking about is now becoming a thing among men. And if you're genetics like me, I came from an Eastern European and Irish origins. My family's not very tall. I mean, I'm 5'7", 5'8". I'm not 6 foot. And I go out there and I put 2 to 3 inches on, and I'm coming out, I'm almost 6 foot now. And my kids are going to come out, they're going to still share the same genetics as me. You're not covering up who you are. I remember years ago when I worked in Walmart, I was talking to an African-American woman there. I wasn't Muslim at the time, but I was always into these things. And I was explaining to her about life and how these people, like stuff I've talked about here, how they work on making us hate each other. And I said, you want to watch something here? I want to show you something. I called her over. And I said, let's take a look at the hate yourself if you're black aisle. And then you have the hate yourself section, I'm sorry. Hate yourself if you're white section. So you had over here for, people who have darker skin, with skin lightening creams, hair straightening products, and things like that. And then you would go down the aisle, and it was like, okay, if you're too white-skinned, you put the brown creams on, the spray tans, which look horrendous. And now all of a sudden you can have browner skin. And then you can have curly hair if you're white. I'm Eastern European, as I mentioned. We have very fine, straight hair. Here, curl your hair. So who's the good one here? They're telling the African-American woman, she's got darker skin and curly hair. That's a bad thing. Then you have she wants to be lighter with straighter hair. Then you're going to the white woman and telling her, okay, you have the lighter skin and straighter hair. You shouldn't want to look like that. You should want to look more over here. So we have people just being taught on all spectrums to hate themselves, to hate everything about them, because that's how they make their money. That's how they keep you in a mental prison. You're now an investor in their products for the rest of your life because they make you hate yourself. Allah made us to look different, to give variety. We all have variety. There's all good things and bad things, within us. And yes, if plastic surgery and all these things are going to cover up who you really are. There's going to be moments in time, and you see people who have plastic surgeries, you're talking about their 30s and their 20s. Typically, when those people get older, it's like, I don't know, I'm not an expert on this. I've never had it, never wanted to have it. But it's like it starts to fall apart, if you will. They start looking really, really bad when they get older. And then they become plastic surgery addicts. One of the cases of this that we all know probably is Michael Jackson. When I was always a big fan of Michael Jackson growing up, big fan of his music. I was a big fan of how he overcame what I saw a lot of abuse and trauma in his life. And he said one thing that was interesting, that he was picked on by his family about his nose when he was growing up, and how that he hated himself. So he ended up going out there and just having so many nose surgeries. You saw when he was in his late 40s that his nose was literally falling apart. It was sad to see because there was nothing wrong with the way he looked. But yet, because of what people had said, and he let these things in society dictate that having a broad nose was somehow a death sentence, that everything he did was, I got to fix that nose. He had all kinds of issues with self-esteem, and we saw what he ended up ultimately doing. So it's a, you have mental health. So we're slowly dying.
Yeah, he was a great example of how it definitely falls apart when you get older. All those surgeries,
Yep.
When you tamper with a law's creation, like you said, it falls to pieces. And we see it with these movie stars. They fall apart the older they get.
Except for Tom Cruise. I don't know what he's doing, but
he claims he's not having the surgeries, but we know he is.
Yes, whatever he's doing is working. I mean, in terms of that guy, I saw him the other day. I'm like, he's 70 now.
Yeah,
and you look at him, he looks like he's in his late 30s, early 40s.
Yeah. He claims this is all real. I haven't had anything changed. No, nothing's been. This is all real. I just use creams and stuff, but no surgeries.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other comments? Yeah. Oh, okay. One of the sisters here say, what do you think about the president of the so-called greatest, most powerful country in the world putting up the trailer park trash WWW sports arena on the front lawn of the White House and turning it into the Hells Angels event that it was?
Yeah, I arrived late in California on Sunday night. As I got to the hotel, they were watching that. I had forgotten. I mean, I don't keep up with it. I've looked at the UFC, which is what the sister's referring to. It's human cockfighting. I mean, it's haram, for one, to strike another human being in the face outside of war, obviously. I've always been disturbed by boxing, by UFC. I mean, are we this primitive as people that we get entertainment punching each other in the face or watching, other people punch each other in the face? And then the sickest thing to me always about boxing and the UFC is they pay good salaries for 3 guys to sit and go, yeah, he punched him better than that guy did. I'm giving him the win. It's like you're the judge. I'm judging that guy. He punched him more effectively and hit him harder than him. I mean, it's cockfighting. I mean, everyone's familiar with what cockfighting is. They get the roosters and they get them angry and they put the claws on their hands. They let them scratch each other. That's to the death. But these UFC things, I mean, the Muslims years ago, there was a Muslim fighter named Habib. So all the Muslims were, mashallah, it proves Islam, The guy choked another guy out, proves Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the messenger Prophet sallallahu. Come on. I mean, we've got a lot better arguments, a lot better that we could use than that. But there were so many Muslims that were doing that when Habib had won. This is Islam, This is all, just I would say some profanity there, bad word, but it's junk. Mm-hmm. And Trump he's from that background. I mean, I talked about that months or 2 ago, but he's a carnival salesman. He worked in WWE, which is the choreographed fake version of fighting. This stuff that was on the White House lawn here's real. I mean, they are really fighting. They're really punching each other hard. They're really trying to choke someone out. But Trump did WWE before. I mean, he was out there, they call it cutting promos. He was cutting promos. That's what kind of president we have. We have a salesman, a carnival, come one, come all, he's going to hype, talk the butts in the seats, and all of that stuff. So it's not surprising. But this is the country's 250th anniversary. And instead of celebrating America for the good things that it's done, America's done a lot of bad things, obviously. But America's done some quite a good things that should be celebrated and built upon going further, but no, just men punching each other in the face. Very, very typical.
Alhamdulillah. That process also brought out another group that I never heard of. They had threatened to send drones with bombs and so forth. So they had a real big problem that particular day. They had to stop that group also. So there was a lot of stuff going on that day.
I heard something briefly about that, but I didn't know what was going on. They got some liberal-looking guy, like one of those guys I was talking about earlier, probably wearing comic book shirts. He looked like one of those guys, the picture that I saw at least. Like one of those guys that's wearing a Spider-Man shirt out in public and saying you can't get a woman. This is, I guess, what they want to do. I don't know who this is, or I can't really intelligently comment on that group or, whatever, but yeah, there was something like that. They were going to attack it.
Yeah, he's crazy.
This whole world is a television show.
Yeah, it's just what it is. It's just like his old television show. Mm-hmm. Exactly. All right. Go ahead. Yes.
Your question, or
I was trying to read this. She said a lot of my friends got BBL and their kids are embarrassed.
They got what now?
BBL and their kids are embarrassed.
Yeah, you see, like one of the worst, this fad is dying. It's never been a big thing in the Muslim community. I have seen brothers in the masjid. These are brothers that were born. They're Arabic in origins. Now you see a lot of white reverts have tattoos, tattoos being one of the biggest mess, I mean, in the last 20 years, particularly among the millennials and the generation after mine, were tattoos. When I was growing up, I mean, you'd watch an NBA basketball game or an American football game, there'd be like one guy, maybe out of 50, that had a tattoo. Now you turn on, it's like almost all of them. Like have them, and you see these women now who are from that generation when this first began, they're hitting their 40s and 50s now. And I'm looking and I'm like, I remember how my grandmother was so sweet and nice and noble. I love my grandmother so dearly. And I'm trying to imagine putting my mind into the mind of the grandchildren, if they have it, of these women now who are covered in tattoos. They got tattoos on the neck, tattoos on their upper breast area, tattoos on their back, you know, like on their legs. It's like, what? I mean, you are going to look horrible, you know, when you get older. All these people, and you're seeing, I said, brothers are doing it. Like in Bahrain and Saudi and UAE, when I was over there, there wasn't even a tattoo shop, you know, but now they have it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you're going to start seeing Muslim men walking around with tattoos.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if this stuff's not stopped, because they're just doing nothing but imitating the West.
Exactly. Oh. Any other?
So you see a lot of the reverts, they have them, but now you're starting to see born Muslim men of Arab origins covered in tattoos.
Yeah. Allah forbids that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's ugly. It's hideous. I mean, I always tell people, I hate when someone says, oh, Allah doesn't like it. You're like, why? They like haram. And I'm like, no, Allah don't make anything haram without telling you, or not telling you, but giving you through your own observation why it is haram. Like what happens with tattoos, I study the skin because I do occupational safety and health, is that when you get ink like jabbed all into your skin, your body is in a constant state of fight. It's trying to remove that stuff from it because it doesn't belong there. And over time, your body becomes wrecked. Your immune system is even compromised by this. Your body is trying to get that ink out. It's like, why is this stuff in me? But it can't do it. But it never gives up trying. So you've got people who are covered in tattoos. Their white blood cells, their leukocytes, are constantly fighting this stuff, trying to get rid of it. It's like Allah doesn't just take stuff away from you because he's a bad, you know, he's a bad God, you know, if you will. No, he knows what's best for you because he made you. And listen to him. You know, listen to the messenger, the Prophet ﷺ. I mean, they're always going to want what's best for you. Now, I always believe that when someone tells you something's haram, you should go out and do your research. And then you'll always come to the same conclusion. It's haram for a reason. There's never anything Allah made haram that's good. Not one. People say, oh, well, Muslims don't have any fun. It's like always laughable. What is fun? Killing yourself? Poisoning yourself? With alcohol? With tattoos? And that's the fun? You know, and it's like, no. I mean, obviously not.
Alhamdulillah. MashaAllah, this was a very good lecture today, very insightful, a lot of great points brought out. It's going to make some very good shorts, especially for you brothers, you know, and sisters, especially about the marriage percentage and the single rate and all of that, and the why. He answered the why. This was one of your best, brother Yusuf. Inshallah. Yeah, so
and we'll do follow-up. I mean, as it comes, brothers, especially sisters, come in here and ask questions. I've been studying this stuff for a long time, watching it with my own eyes and seeing how we are just being wrecked as a people. We don't get along anymore. We both want unrealistic expectations from the other, and we both end up getting nothing in the end.
Exactly. And this was my first time streaming it on TikTok. So for those of you who are watching and listening on TikTok, inshallah, stick around because my Ask Sister Layla Live Islam Q&A will be coming on in about an hour, inshallah, and I'll try to stream that to you guys too. My Islam Q&A too. And if you guys enjoyed hearing Brother Yusuf give this week's news in review, make sure you tune in every Friday, inshallah, at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And make sure you join our website so you can get our daily schedule at sunnahfollowers.net. You know, we offer our classes live and we stream them on social media, on all major social platforms every day, 2 or 3 times a day. Make sure you check it out. And you guys on TikTok are familiar with Sheikh Muhammad Saeed Atlee. He's one of the directors here at Sunnah Followers, and he's back. That's why I'm streaming on TikTok. I know this is his platform. So he wanted me to try it out because this is his stomping ground. And I'm his ex. Hello. So, and he's watching slime. So, so inshallah, I'm going to log out for right now. Slime Sheikh Atlee. So I'm going to log out and I'll be back on in an hour, inshallah, with the Ask Sister Layla Live. So I want to thank everybody for joining. Have your questions ready. at 9:30, and I'll answer them. Subhana Kalahuma wa bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. And there's Brother Yusuf giving his salams too. Assalamu alaikum. Beagle, I'll be back. Oh, I forgot I wasn't supposed to mention that. TikTok for Beagle. That's their sister program. I forgot. Well, sorry. Oh, wait a minute. I gotta. Oh, how do I cut off TikTok, y'all? How do I cut it off? Norto. Oh, okay, here it is. In live. Okay, hold on. Okay, what I do now, Norto? Is it off? Okay, now then I cut my stream. Hold on. And
it's ended.